So during the 70s, at the height of what was known as the second wave of feminism, there was this argument put forward by some radical feminists that basically said, well, we live in patriarchy, and patriarchy is so ubiquitous and so all-encompassing that it affects our very thoughts and beliefs and desires. Um, and therefore, a woman can't really know what she wants because it could be influenced by the patriarchy. Um, and so therefore, since she just can't really know what she wants, um, then that means that she can never really give consent, and therefore all heterosexual sex is rape. Um, Now, some people like Rush Limbaugh have liked to paint all feminism with the brush of this extreme argument, which, by the way, is bullshit. But it was always a fringe position, but this argument was put forward. Um, and I bring it up because it's based on a small kernel of truth. It's not, there is a partial truth there. That we do in fact have cultural programming. Um, but I guess I want to show the limitations of making that argument by pointing to this extreme example, which some continue to believe. I don't. Uh, I happen to because I'm not philosophically a determinist. I happen to think that, well, at least not fully determinist. Um, I happen to think that there is some free will, even if it's hard to tease apart from the determinism. But I think, instead of just laughing it off, we have to look at some other applications of this argument that are seen as less extreme. For example, when women try to look more beautiful, or try to lose weight and or get breast implants and stuff, we say that she's trying to live up to this body image set by this patriarchal media, this unrealistic body types, and so it's not really her decision to want to be that way. That idea was actually put into her head by the media. Um, and so I guess you have to ask, where is the line you draw? At what point do you say, okay, people have the ability to make their own decisions? Whereas at what point do you say, well, they're being manipulated, and they can't they can't be made accountable for that decision. Um, and it's a real issue, because if you think about it, that's the basis of our laws against pedophilia. That even if a child wants to engage in sexual activity with an adult, they're considered incapable of giving informed consent. So that's why it's illegal to have sex with minors. And I guess one application I was thinking of this was in the prostitution debate, which just never seems to end. There's some who want. I get the whole human trafficking argument, and it is a tragedy, and I don't necessarily have the answer to that. But some people want to bring up psychology and say that any woman who goes into prostitution is damaged, or traumatized from childhood or something like that, and so it's not really her decision to get into that thing, or you're only deciding that because you were traumatized as a child, and therefore we're going to take that decision away from you. And I think that kind of falls in line with the same spectrum of what I'm talking about here, which is that there is an aspect, which is that yes, there is a culturally determined aspect. There's an aspect about personal psychology and what our upbringing is, but I also happen to think that there is the capacity in us to become free, to through our through the unfolding of life events, through exposure to different influences, we have the ability to seek out new worldviews, to seek out new ideas, and the more we learn about the world, the more we can make our informed decisions. The more we can grow and look within and try to expand within ourselves. And so I think we ought to be very careful in presuming to decide for people what their decision is. And I don't go entirely one way on that either. I think in libertarians, people who want to defend the free market capitalism will often talk about the freedom of contract, and I think that they're taking it to the opposite extreme, and which I don't, which I think is problematic as well. They talk about sweatshop workers will they're making a free decision, as is the employee. They're making the best decision they can, and therefore trying to raise their wages or anything would be interfering with the freedom of contract. And that doesn't take into account the differences of their position. What position they're coming from versus what position the capitalist is coming from, and sort of the inequality of that decision. So I think when it comes to positions, there ought to be that safeguard against people coming from unequal positions. That's why, for example, I think that that a boss that it shouldn't be legal. You shouldn't be allowed to sleep with your boss, even if it's mutually consensual, because it may be consensual, but it may seem consensual, but there's a power differential, and so the boss has authority over you, even if they claim they're not going to use it. There's that inherent power differential that's going to come into play. So I guess I want to propose the question of given all these cultural influences, all these all these issues of upbringing, and do we really have any kind of free will of our own? At what point do we decide that someone is responsible enough for themselves that we say they have the power to make a decision even if we disagree with that decision? So I guess I'm going to leave it there for now. Peace.